What's up, guys? My name is Jerry, and today's video is going to be on the Miami Heat, and we're going to be talking about how this team has gotten their swagger back, and we're going to jump right into the video. Now, 2 weeks ago, the Miami Heat went through a very bad rough patch where they lost 4 straight games, and then they had the whole public incident with Jimmy Butler, Udonis Haslem, and Coach Erik Spoelstra. But the Miami Heat, they moved far past that, and they followed that week up by winning 4 straight games. And during that 4-game winning streak, the Miami Heat played some pretty formidable opponents. They started it off by knocking off the Sacramento Kings, and then they beat the Boston Celtics, who's been one of the hottest teams in the NBA since the month of January. They beat the Chicago Bulls, who aren't any pushovers, and then they beat the Toronto Raptors, a team that's been really upping up their level of play over the last couple of weeks. So the Miami Heat, they look really good over that stretch, and they look like a team that just got their mojo. They just got their swagger back, and there's a lot of factors that play into that. And I think the biggest one to me personally is the way that Kyle Lowry has been playing. The way that Kyle Lowry has been playing for the Miami Heat, and watching this Heat all season long, Kyle Lowry hasn't really been that aggressive, but it hasn't been a problem for the Heat because they've been winning games. But come postseason time, we want to see Kyle Lowry be more aggressive, and that's what we've seen over his last 8 games. And over the last 8 games, Kyle Lowry from the 3-ball, he's been lights out. So over the last 8 games, Kyle Lowry has attempted 64 threes, which is really good for the Miami Heat. That's 8 threes a game, and believe it or not, Kyle Lowry is hitting it at a 50% rate. Out of those 64 threes, he's hit 32 of them. So that's really important for the Miami Heat in so many different ways, because you want a guy with the talents of Kyle Lowry. You want him shooting the basketball because he's a really great shooter, but it opens up so many things for the Miami Heat offense. So the Kyle Lowry and Bam Adebayo, with him hitting threes like that, their pick and roll is going to be so much more dangerous, because when Kyle Lowry, when he's hitting and taking threes like that, usually when he comes right off the screen, they're either going to blitz or double team him. And Bam Adebayo is such a good basketball player because he can do so much when he catches that ball out of the roll. He has very quick feet. He can get to the basket, and he's very athletic. So most of the time, that's going to be an easy dunk for him. And then also, an underrated part of Bam Adebayo's game is his ability to pass the ball and be a playmaker. So if the defense collapses on Bam Adebayo and get to him before he can get to that basket, he's a smart enough and a good enough passer to hit a cutting Jimmy Butler or hit a Max Strus or Tyler Hero, whoever the Miami Heat have on the court, hit one of those guys for a 3-point shot. So with Kyle Lowry being that aggressive, it's going to open up so much more for the Miami Heat. And then also, another thing contributing to the Heat turning it up a notch is Jimmy Butler. Whenever he plays like the #1 option, the Miami Heat are a much better ball club. Jimmy Butler, he played 3 out of the 4 games on this winning streak he set out against the Toronto Raptors, but the other 3 games, he had 20 or more points in all those games. And that's just what you want to see from Jimmy Butler, because sometimes Jimmy Butler himself too, he can be a bit passive, and he wants to get other guys involved. But for me, what I want to see from Jimmy is that I want to see him get his buckets first, and then when the defense starts to double team or help on him, then that's when I want to see him get others involved. Because Jimmy Butler, to be fair, he is a great playmaker. He can make plays, he can pass the ball, but when Jimmy Butler, when he gets his mid-range going and he gets his post game going and he gets he's getting to the rim, it opens up a lot for the Miami Heat as well. Because when Jimmy Butler is playing like that, you can't guard him one-on-one. You either gotta help hard or you gotta send the double team, and then that's when we can watch Jimmy Butler get guys involved and he can be that playmaker. And a big question surrounding Jimmy Butler is that, can he be that guy on the championship team, or can he be the #1, or can he be the best player on the championship team? And I think he can, because we've seen him get to the NBA Finals being the best player on the championship team. You know, even though Goran Dragic, he led the Miami Heat in playoff scoring that year, Jimmy Butler was still the best player on the Miami Heat, and he had 2 big games in the NBA Finals. He had the 40-point triple-double. So I think Jimmy Butler, I think he has the it factor, and I think he can definitely lead the Miami Heat to a championship this year. So you got that, and then also the role players have been looking really well for the Miami Heat as well, and we continue to see the extension of Max Strus. And Max Strus, He's been playing really great lately, and his role this season, or really what he made the most out of this season, is Duncan Robinson going through that shooting slump that he went through at the beginning of the season. Because when Duncan Robinson wasn't hitting, they was able to put Max Strus into the ball game, and he was able to knock down his threes. And what separates Max Strus apart from the rest of the sharpshooters in the NBA is that he can do a little bit of everything. He can play some defense. He can move his defense on the defensive side of the ball. He's going to have the intent to stop you every play. And then also he can put the ball on the floor. He can cut. He can get to the rim finish with both hands. And the thing about it, Max Strus is just scratching the surface of how good he can really be. Like, he has so much potential in him, and we saw it last night against the Toronto Raptors when the Miami Heat went into halftime down 10 points, and he came out and helped them win. He helped them surge back and win that ball game by hitting seven 3-pointers in the half, which is really crazy. But we just seen how good his shooting prowess is. So Max Strus, he's been really good for the Miami Heat this season, and he just continues to ascend and ascend. So he's getting really better. And then also, we seen the veterans. We seen the veterans step up. PJ Tucker, Bam Adebayo. They were out last night, so that meant more minutes for Markieff Morris and Victor Oladipo, and they took full advantage of that. I believe Markieff Morris, he poured in 10 points, shooting 4 of 10 from the field, and then Victor Oladipo, he had himself a night. He scored 21 points, shooting 6 of 9 from the three-point line, and that was really impressive to see him do that. But he stepped up with Jimmy Butler being out, and Markieff Morris stepped up with PJ Tucker being out. And we just seen the Miami Heat. We seen their veterans stay ready. And as Udonis Haslem would say, he says, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And that's what we see with the Miami Heat. And that's going to be very important, because the Miami Heat, all the role players that they have and all the solid players that they have, I can tell you guys right now, I have no idea what their postseason rotation is going to be, because I feel like they have so many different ways they can go about it. That's how many weapons they have on this team. Erik Spoelstra, he could probably go 8-9 deep in the playoffs if he wants, but we don't usually see that in the postseason. We don't know if he's going to narrow it down to 7, 8, 6 players. We don't know what he's going to do, but it's going to be really interesting. I can't wait to see what the Miami Heat do in the playoffs. But when it comes to them being contenders, and when they went on that bad 4-game skid, I never doubted the Miami Heat being contenders. We got to look at stuff in perspective. I could see if they were like a 5th or 6th seed and they just all of a sudden start to crumble, and then you could have had some worry about them. But this was a team that was #1 in the Eastern Conference, and they've been playing some really great basketball all season long, and they just went through a rough patch, and I don't think that was enough to question them being contenders or not. I never doubted the Miami Heat being contenders, and now we look at them just 1 week later, still the #1 team in the Eastern Conference with a record of 51-28. So I think all those panics, those were ghost panics, and I think the Miami Heat are going to be just fine going into the playoffs. So that's going to be it on this video. I wanted to touch on how the Miami Heat have gotten their swagger back, and a lot of guys are starting to kick it up a notch. So if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and then comment down below whether you agree or disagree, and then subscribe for more weekly content. We do this all the time, man, and that's curtains.